Today we're going to be talking about launching your subscription. So if you guys actually have any questions off the bat, feel free to type them in the control panel, and we'll get to a Q&A at the end of the session. So it's about 3 minutes past. We can go ahead and get started. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I started with a poll here. I'm curious how many of you are, what phase you guys are in starting. If you guys have started your launch yet or are still thinking about it, hopefully some of the things we addressed today will help clear up some of that. I'm the Director of Consumer Marketing at Cratejoy, and previously before that, and still am a subscription entrepreneur. I've started many subscription businesses, have made a ton of mistakes, but I've also had a ton of success, and one of the recurring themes of those successes is the way that those businesses are launched. The launch of your business can really build in momentum that carries success through, the first entire year of your business. Alternatively, a bad launch can really hurt your business, and it can hurt its trajectory. So the goal today is to kind of walk you guys through some of the steps or phases that I have identified as being key in creating a successful launch. And hopefully you guys follow these steps, which I'm sure if you can at least use this as a blueprint when doing your launch, should really help you get a much better head start on other subscription businesses. So the launch, serves quite a few different purposes. From basically validating your idea. You can start the launch process with a very low amount of money. The cool thing about a subscription business is that if you do them correctly, you're really never going to be out of pocket. They can be really lean businesses, especially in the beginning. Really, the first part of launch is taking an idea that you have or you've developed, bringing it to sort of a basic concept and validating that. Making sure that you have your product is a good product market fit. Checking those things off your list before you invest, significant additional time or money into your business. One of the biggest mistakes that I see with subscription businesses is they're getting their idea, they're kind of scrapping together a product, and then they're just like launching, and then there's crickets, nothing's happened. So it's really important by following some of these steps that I've outlined here. You can use those to build anticipation. Build up hype. There's a sense of mystery around sort of teasing an audience, with a product that's coming. So you're sort of dangling that carrot in front of a potential audience before you actually launch, and that anticipation is going to, help you launch with, 300 to 500 subscribers versus, first day you get one and then it's kind of just trickling, and that's what you want to avoid. You don't want crickets on your launch day. So basically, I broke this down in phases. The first phase is the launch teaser, and this is essentially a landing page that you put up, and your entire goal is to collect emails and interest. And this is run for about 1.5 months before you ever even start collecting subscription revenue. Before you get to this phase, there are some key things that you want to make sure you have fleshed out. You want to have some good branding and a good logo. At least some decent marketing copy and sort of a voice. And then your product development should be about 80% complete. So what I mean by that is you should have a really good idea on, what your box is going to be, the niche, the types of products you're going to put into the box, the frequency, are you doing monthly or are you maybe doing quarterly instead? So try to have that as fleshed out as you can before you get to this phase. And the main goals with phase one are, like I said, to validate your idea. So you're going to want to basically, once you get your teaser page up, you're going to work with some bloggers. You're going to work with some niche people in your niche community that you've built your product for, and you're going to see how receptive they are of your idea. And this will give you a good indicator of whether you should continue with this business and actually getting to the second phase, which is finally collecting revenue for and subscriptions customers. The other important part about phase one is building anticipation. So Basically, here I have outlined here. This is an example of actually one of my businesses. This was our teaser page, and you can see it doesn't have a whole lot of information, but it has all the key elements that are going to give people enough information to at least be interested enough to put their email in there. Here I've kind of I've outlined some of the important elements to a teaser page. The first thing that stands out at the top is before we got to this phase, we took our time and we did a good logo. We came up with a really clever tagline. That's a yogi-inspired monthly surprise. We actually have a better one now, we call it a yoga retreat in a box. So it's sort of a clever concept, and it sort of also gives you an idea of what the product is. And then you'll see there's a reason. I call this the reason to care. It's really just one sentence, and it's sort of a brief overview of what we're doing, but you'll notice that there's not a picture of the product on this page. We're not really giving away a whole lot, but the information that we have here is enough to get people excited about potentially what we're doing. The other thing is, and I think execution is key, making this look good, making it feel professional. Doing those things will give people a sense of, a sense that this team is capable of executing on a cool product. If this looks good, I'm sure the product that they're going to put out is probably really cool too. The other thing is our call to action says get invited. I use those words because it sort of adds a sense, sort of a scarcity element to it. It makes it feel like it's exclusive. And then finally, we have a sort of super incentive, which is sort of the final trigger there, getting people excited about putting their email in, is we offer a lifetime subscription, the opportunity to win one, and that gimmick actually worked really well. Lifetime subscription is, it seems like a lot, but really when you've got 500 subscribers, you're talking about a cost of goods of maybe $20 a month for this promotion. It's more than worth it. So this is an example of a good landing page. And I'll share this with you guys afterwards so you can use it as a reference when doing your landing page. Moving forward, again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in and submit them throughout this presentation, and we'll address them at the end. Yes, we are recording this presentation, and it will be available for you guys to use as a reference later on. Cool, so how the heck do you actually do one of these teaser pages? If you're using Cratejoy, they have got an app in the App Store there called SumoMe, and SumoMe is a great suite of tools that have a few options for setting up your teaser page in Cratejoy. Now, obviously, a lot of Cratejoy's value comes, when you're actually taking those customers, you're taking that revenue, and you're operating your business. So this little app here, which you'll find in your merchant dashboard under the App Store, it's called SumoMe. It's free to install it. They've got a couple tools. One of them's Welcome Mat, which makes it really easy to set up a really nice looking teaser page. So I would recommend starting there. So also in phase one, you're going to be focused on driving traffic, doing some initial marketing, and then lead nurturing. You're going to run this phase for about a month and a half, so you're going to have emails that are sitting in there for a while, and you don't want those leads to go cold, and you don't want that sort of excitement and anticipation to disappear. So lead nurturing is also a big part of this. When you get your teaser page up, once you've gotten past that phase, you're going to want to drive traffic to it. You want to get people interested in putting their emails in. So my favorite place to start is highly niche blogger outreach. Something that I didn't cover really is product development, which will probably be reserved for another presentation, but it's key that you put together a product that appeals to a specific niche. The more niche you go, the better. Finding that there's a few elements to the types of communities that do well for these types of businesses. The yoga community for my business is a good example. It's a fitness, it's a form of fitness, but there's a lifestyle, there's a culture around it, and those people are very active on things like Instagram, and they're very active in social networks. So those are some elements you want to look for when trying to figure out, which community to cater to with the product you're developing. If you've done a good job at that, things like marketing and blogger outreach become a lot easier. So while you're building your teaser page, or right after you launch it, one of the first things I recommend doing is blogger outreach. And you probably hear about this a lot. Yes, I know about bloggers, but they can be really effective. You just have to do it at volume. You have to be consistent with it. You've got to be fairly clever with your pitch to them, right? And it also really depends on the community. For example, the yoga community can be a little weird about money. The second that you offer money in exchange for a post or a shout out, it may or may not work. Whereas other bloggers, they want $100 up front to do a post. So you're going to try to do this phase at little cost as possible. Build up a list of about 100 bloggers in your niche. And you don't have a product yet, so you can't offer to send them anything for free. But my general approach to this is emailing them and just saying like, hey, we're a new startup. Here's our concept. This is the product that we're launching. We're getting ready to launch it. Always compliment them on their blog. Tell them you're a fan. Acknowledge their value, and then say like, look, I wish I could offer more. We're just getting started, and your help would really be appreciated. And even offer to send them a free box for your first month, because you'll get double the value out of it. If you can get them to agree to a post now to announce your teaser page in your upcoming product, then when you launch and send them a free box, it's likely you can get them to do a review on that first box as well. So I see a lot of people that try this sort of blogger outreach and kind of give up, and they maybe email 10 bloggers, but to get 10 to 20 responses back, you've really got to start with a list of about 100. So hire a friend or a family member and pay them to, if you can start with 500 bloggers and reach out to each one of them, it will pay off. You just have to be diligent and consistent about it. Instagram ambassadors. Instagram for me has been huge recently, and also for a lot of other subscription businesses. What's kind of happened is a lot of the activity on Facebook has seemed to have kind of shifted over to Instagram. And so you can get more attention on Instagram, more people are viewing it, and there's also big ambassadors and big personalities on Instagram that are much easier to tap into than other channels like YouTube. These are generally people that have built big followings on Instagram and don't quite understand their potential value yet. They're not getting spammed by big brands yet offering them money. They're way more approachable on Instagram. And you kind of would approach it similar to how you would approach the blogger outreach. But Instagram is definitely a gold mine right now, and I think it'll be like this for a couple more years until the big advertisers start coming in and offering a lot of big budgets and money for some of these personalities, and it'll be harder to work with them. If you've noticed on YouTube, a lot of the big personalities now have agents and managers in front of them, so it's much harder to structure deals with people on YouTube today as it was a couple of years ago. Okay, next important thing is keeping your leads warm. So when you get that email, that's not the end of it. You want to keep communicating with them. I really like to use MailChimp for this. So it's been my favorite. All the leads go into MailChimp. That SumoMe app that I mentioned, you can use with Cratejoy, will integrate with MailChimp. I recommend sending an email out to your leads every week. And what I recommend putting in that email is essentially releasing sort of new sneak peeks and sort of tidbits about what's to come. So your goal here is to not only keep them warm and keep you on their mind, but also to continue to build more and more anticipation. So if you can kind of keep teasing them with new things about what's to come, and you do that right up to the launch date, that anticipation really starts to compound and really contributes to a much more successful phase 2, which is the pre-launch phase. So any questions on that, feel free to type them in there and we'll address them specifically. For phase 1, we've got a few benchmarks here. Just from what I've seen with different types of launches, the kind of numbers that you want to shoot for. You do want to run phase 1 for about 1 to 1.5 months. Really the goal is to get a good number of leads or emails in there before you launch, so you have a really successful phase 2. And I would honestly aim to shoot for at least 2,000 to 5,000 leads before you actually consider moving into phase 2. If you need to run phase 1 even longer and collect leads for 2 months, that's totally fine as well. Just make sure that you keep doing the lead nurturing and preventing those leads from going cold. Also, it's one of the reasons I recommend this sort of multi-step process because it's way easier to convert a visitor to an email than it is to convert a visitor to a sale. So, like, I recommend, shooting for something like a visitor to email conversion rate of about 20%. If it's under 5%, you probably have an issue with product market fit. I think anywhere from 10 to 20%, and you're doing something right. Your product is resonating with someone. So, okay, so phase 2 is exciting part. Here is when you stop teasing people and you actually start taking paid subscribers. So this is where you really get to see how your product and niche is performing. So some of the goals for phase 2 is basically converting all that initial anticipation you've been building into revenue. And the importance of this phase is because you're taking revenue and you're using it to fund your business and fund your first shipments. If you time this all correctly, you're never going to be out of pocket, and you can fund your business with revenue from pre-sales. It's just a pretty awesome thing about subscription businesses. Validation should be basically completed this time. You've got enough of it. You're taking on paid subscribers. You've got good interest. You've got good product market fit, and now it's time to basically start putting the rest of your business together. So, during phase 2, while you're taking these initial subscribers, it's looking good. You're getting a good conversion rate, now. So before I mentioned, visit to email 20%. It's going to be much lower from email to paid subscriber, but it's going to be higher now than it will be in the future because these people have been thoroughly vetted and you've been building anticipation with them for months. So for this phase, probably expect is somewhere between 5 to 10% email to paid subscribers. And if you can get that, that's awesome. That's all the validation you need. So really, also during this phase, you're putting together the other parts of your business. So now you're making sure that you're going to have packaging ready. If you're going to do custom packaging, you have time to do that during this phase, and now you have revenue to start that process. Also now it's a good idea to probably be finding the vendors that you're going to work with for the first month. So you're kind of organizing the product for your first shipment. Now you're working on your full website. You're getting all the other pieces together to build your business. And it's fun to do that during this phase because you know that you've hit the nail on the head with the product and the niche, and eliminates a lot of the risk, so it makes it a much more stress-free experience. Also during this phase, so I like to call these people during this phase sort of the founding members, and these people are going to be key because when you do your official launch, so I consider the official launch your second shipment. Your first shipment is essentially to the founding members, these people that are purchasing during the pre-sales phase 2 campaign. And these people are going to be your most loyal customers over time, and I found that with the several businesses I've started, these people will have lifetime values and stick around for well over 12 months, which is going to be unlike other subscribers you get down the road. But the biggest value of your founding members is these people become your marketing army. So these are the people that are going to get your product that first month, and they're going to help build momentum for your second month. So these are the people that are going to be posting pictures. You definitely want to encourage that. They're going to be writing reviews. You're going to be sharing with friends. So these are going to be your probably loudest and hopefully most positive customers. So for that first month, I always recommend putting a little extra bonus in there, making it a little more special, and then really making these people feel valued. If there's customer service, you want to be on top of it as fast as possible. Just be as warm and fuzzy as you can with these initial subscribers because you're not going to get another shot at first impressions with these people. Phase 2 is going to be run for about 1.5 months. So you're going to have a longer cycle here, from subscriber to shipment than you will in any other month. Usually people are shipping month to month. In this phase, you're going to collect revenue for 1.5 months before you switch into your normal month-to-month cycles. And the reason that it's an extra half a month is because you need at least two weeks or so to get enough revenue to fund your first shipment, right? So what you're gonna find is that most of your list is going to convert in like the first few days, and then it's kind of going to trickle there. But you need that extra time to take that revenue and turn it around to buy products and give your vendors enough lead time to get your first order together. And they won't need as much lead time as you will down the road because it's not going to be a huge shipment. It's probably going to be under 500 subscribers, and most vendors can turn around 500 units of product for you, even if they have to manufacture it within a couple weeks. So 1.5 months gives you plenty of time to plan the rest of your business. And here's an example. Let's say you open up for pre-subscribers on October 1st. Your very first shipment will end up going on November 16th, and then after that you'll switch into your normal month-to-month cycles. A lot of times when I'm explaining this to people, they worry that because of how long people are having to wait. So like if someone pre-subscribes and pays you on October 1st, that person can be waiting a really long time for their first shipment. So a lot of times people will ask me like, isn't that going to upset people? Are you going to get lots of complaints? And that seems logical, but as long as you set expectations and are super clear about, they're the founding member, the first shipment is going on November 16th. We really appreciate your support. As long as you really set those expectations, you may get only one or two people that are sort of wondering why it's taking so long or complain. Yeah, it really has, for me, I've never seen it as much of an issue. So the official launch. The official launch comes when you're starting the cycle for your second shipment. The official launch is cool because you can use your founding members as validation. You can get testimonials from those people for your landing pages. There's a little bit, the anticipation is kind of more turned into people really wanting it because they've seen pictures, they've seen reviews. Hopefully your first product, your first box is really good. You put extra effort into it. In the official launch phase, this is kind of when your site will be more complete, right? So for the pre-subscriber, the second phase that we just talked about, you don't really need a full site. You can build one page in Cratejoy. It's sort of one landing page. It's very simple. You maybe got a sort of a picture of the box, and it has just enough information for those people to make a decision about purchasing. It won't need as much information as your full site in the future because these are people that you've been building anticipation for, and they're much more familiar with your brand. So the pre-launch, you just have that basic landing page. When you get to the official launch, you can spend more time in your Cratejoy dashboard building out your store a little more. So put together like an about page and some little more information. So those are things that you can work on while you're running the second phase. So the official launch, your site's a little beefier. You've got some more information. You've got an about page. Maybe your landing page has some examples of the past month because now you've got one shipment under your belt. And then also during this phase too, now you can go back to your influencer partners, the bloggers that we talked about, and hopefully you've sent them a free box for helping you spread the word out during your teaser page. Now those people are going to assist you with your second month and your official launch. So you'll go back to them and just say like, never push them to do something specific for you. Always kind of lead them there by saying, how did you like the box? What are your thoughts on it? And usually that will prompt them to do a review or something. But when you're too often, I see people too pushy with bloggers, and they're like, please do the review. When are you gonna get the review done? I just sent you this free box. Or they'll complain. Like, just be super polite with your influencers, and never really ask them to do something. Just ask for their opinion and their thoughts, and always thank them and be grateful. This is especially key if you're trying to do it for low to no cost and you're not offering money. So Also during the official launch phase, now it's time to go back to your teaser leads list and tap into your unconverted leads again. Maybe those people that didn't convert for a variety of reasons. Maybe they needed more information. Maybe they wanted to see how the first month went. So now you can go back to your unconverted leads, and you can show them examples from the first month, and maybe they're more likely to convert. Usually you'll get another 5% or so over the line when you do your official launch. So at this point, I'd love to take some questions and maybe answer some specifics. I've also put a poll out there, so if you guys want to answer that, I'm curious how many of you guys are just starting or have already started or just figuring out how to launch your business. Go ahead and ask some questions, and I can get into some more specifics. Okay, so we got a question. When using bloggers to promote your pre-launch, should you ask them to do a box review or just give a social media shout out, etc.? Would a box review give away the mystery element of your launch? Good question. So likely when you're starting the blogger outreach for your teaser page, it's likely that you don't have a box ready to send yet. It's likely you haven't even purchased products yet. Usually during this phase, I will email bloggers and I will just say, hey, here's my concept. What do you think of it? We're sort of in our pre-launch phase right now. I think your community would really like this product, and I really just want to get your thoughts and your opinion on what I'm doing. And if you like it, I'd really appreciate it if you kind of just did something. So try not to be so specific at what you want. Kind of approach them as an authority and just tell them you appreciate what you're doing, and you simply wanted to get their feedback on your concept. And if they like it, you can kind of steer the conversation in the direction of I'd really appreciate your support. Would you be open to maybe doing a shout out on Facebook or Instagram or something? So don't be pushy. I do recommend that these people say, like, when we do launch, I'd be happy to send you one of the first boxes, and I'd love to get your thought on it. So really just approach them as sort of an authority and make them feel good about themselves, and they will do stuff for you. How to create interest without giving away the idea? That's a question I got here. Good question. I mean, it's a balance. I mean, you will be giving away some things. If you go back to my teaser page here, we give away just enough to where you can get an idea on what we're going to be doing. There's nothing here that's describing the product. Really, if you'll notice what it's doing is it's describing who the product is for. And so the concepts here resonate with a very specific group of people. And that was enough in combination with this incentive, a few things that this audience can really relate to. The name does a decent job of sort of implying what it is. So really, you kind of want to it's just a balance. You want to give away as much as you can to make sure you're creating interest, but not giving away the whole thing. That's why it's called the teaser page. Okay, so we got here, is the launch defined as the date you begin taking orders? No. The launch is a process. It's the process that I've been laying out here. The date you begin taking orders, I refer to that as phase 2. That is the point in the phase when you start taking pre-subscribers, which are paying customers. They're the first in line. They're also going to be waiting longer than than future months, because you need these founding member subscribers, as I like to call them, to get revenue to fund your business. Any other suggestions on how to generate leads besides bloggers and Instagram and telling everyone you know? Yes, so I mentioned bloggers and Instagram because those are some of my favorites right now. if you want to go deeper into it, I actually suggest experimenting with Facebook on your Facebook advertising, different forms of paid advertising for your teaser process. It's an interesting phase to do that in because you're going to see much cheaper conversions. Like, you know, I mean, look, you're trying to get emails. You're not trying to get paid subscribers at this point. So it's way easier to create, you know, a Facebook ad and generate interest. You know, create the ad as sort of like your teaser page, just enough information to get someone excited. It's way easier to grab that email during this phase than it will be when you've launched and all you can do is grab paying subscribers. So I definitely, if you're up for it, experimenting with Facebook advertising. And you know, I didn't, to be totally honest, with my pre-launch phase or teaser page with Yogi Surprise, we didn't do any paid advertising. We completely relied on our blogger and ambassador outreach for this phase. And really, any type of marketing that you do in the teaser phase is going to be way more effective than after you launch. Just because it's way easier to get an email than it is to get a paying customer. Should I be running any particular promotions during the pre-subscriber phase? I mean, this whole phase is about experimenting and finding out what type of marketing is going to work for your business. And usually I like to reserve a lot of the experimentation for the teaser part, the part where you're just collecting emails. Because like I said, everything that you do is going to be more effective during the teaser phase than it will once you start taking on paid subscribers. Okay, I'm just going through the questions here. Feel free to keep asking and I'll see if I can get to them. Oh, someone mentioned, would you recommend the same 1.5 month wait when procuring products for free versus other types of subscriptions where you're paying for products? I would honestly probably yes, if not more. Procuring products for free these days is a lot harder than it used to be. If you have started this process, you'll quickly find that a lot of the vendors you're going after are getting lots of emails every week. I've talked to vendors who are getting maybe 10 emails every week from a subscription that's requesting free products. So brands are getting quite overwhelmed with the concept of donations in terms of marketing. If you're in an industry where you feel like the free sample model is going to be very appropriate, you know, that's fine, but generally, yes, I'd probably recommend at least 1.5 because you know, it's much harder to procure free product because it takes, you know, multiple emails, multiple follow-ups. You've got to get in touch with the marketing person to get approval for free products, and it's a longer sales cycle. Whereas buying products, it's not really a sales cycle. You're acting as a buyer, and it's way easier to get through to someone at a brand. It's way easier to organize those orders and get them processing. So you may find that it's much harder to procure product these days than it used to be. Someone asked me what was my initial startup cost when I started before the product went out. My initial startup cost has always been zero. If you follow these phases correctly, you never really need to be out of pocket. You know, if you can, a lot of the things that you may need to spend money on, especially during the teaser phase, are perhaps your branding and your logo design. If you can, you know, partner with somebody who has those skills, even better. You'll never be out of pocket. You can put the right team together. But really, the idea is to get your teaser page up and get to phase 2, the pre-subscriber process where you start collecting revenue. The idea is to get to that phase with as little amount of money as possible. And once you've gotten to that phase, you're taking pre-subscribers, you're getting that revenue that you need to actually build out the rest of your business. Getting a lot of very specific questions in regards to packaging and shipping costs. We don't have enough time to get into specific details on those, but we'll definitely have some more specific webinars where we go over things like packaging and shipping and other elements of starting the business. You know, as always, we have subscriptionschool.com where Jesse and I, both subscription entrepreneurs that work for Cratejoy, write about a lot of these specifics. So you definitely use Subscription School as a resource. We also do a lot of very specific videos. Jesse does a lot of very specific videos on YouTube about some of these things like customer acquisition and packaging and shipping and cost of goods and product development. And those videos are also all available on subscriptionschool.com. So I do want to address this question here real quick. Somebody asked, what is the best way to approach vendors when you don't have any sales and not enough money to open an account, which requires a certain amount of payment up front? So first of all, I have never been in a situation where I've been required to make payment up front. I have had vendors request that. Small vendors who simply need the money to buy the materials to make the product, so they're in a situation where there's really not, a lot they can do. But for most vendors, what I'll say is, we can pay in full right before you guys ship, but we can't make any prepayments. I even, if you explain people the exact situation and why you can't do that, it's way easier to get them to understand. You explain how your cycles work and when you get paid and when you can pay them, they'll understand. So I don't ever recommend paying for your orders totally up front, but if you time it correctly, you can pay for them right before they ship it to you. But yeah, I mean, a real problem, when you're starting a subscription business, if you launch that first month and you don't have very many subscribers, under 50, under 100, it's true. You don't really have the volume the ideal amount of volume that you would need to get the best deals you can with suppliers. That's why I recommend running this launch process the way I've outlined here, because if you build that initial anticipation up front, it's much easier to launch with 500 subscribers rather than launching with 5 and having it trickle in, which I see way too often. And also vendors will work with you too. If you explain your situation, you explain your concept, you explain that it's likely you'll be a returning customer. You want this to be a long-term relationship. If you can give me a volume discount now, I'll say I'll guarantee at least another order in the next 6 months. And those are all tactics that you can use to help bring the costs down. But for the most part, I will usually always negotiate to get either under wholesale or pretty close to cost. I want the vendors to be at least making a little bit of money from it, and as long as we're not giving away the product, it's a totally break even, if not profitable, marketing experience for those vendors. Someone mentioned I'm sure that this may apply to at least a few of you guys. I rushed the pre-launch phase, and I'm hearing crickets. Can I come back from this? Yes, you can. If there's any of you guys that have skipped these phases or rushed to a launch and you're hearing crickets, I think it depending on how many customers you have. I mean, if you've got under 10 customers, I think you can probably start over. I think you can keep shipping. If you do have customers, start shipping to them. Get them in the month-to-month cycle and start shipping to them. But it may be wise to build a teaser page on there where the main call to action is put your email in, and then perhaps sort of hide the subscribe flow and get it back to just taking email lead interest, and then going and starting with some of the marketing tactics that I described. Go out to your community, your niche, those bloggers, tell them about what you're doing, tell them about your concept, and you can follow these steps all over again. So if you rush to the launch phase and you're getting crickets or you only have a handful of subscribers, it's definitely not too late to go back to some of these steps. Another good quick one here I can answer. How many boxes do you need to plan for or procure for in advance? Some people like to procure way in advance. Personally, with my businesses, we've never procured more than 1 or 2 months out. And even at the size that we are now, Yogi Surprise, one of my side businesses, at that size, the people doing purchasing are are only giving the vendors about a month of lead time. So a month of lead time still seems to work well for over 3,000 subscribers. And all the boxes are the same. We don't need to do variations. We still have some time here, so I will go ahead and answer some more questions for you guys. And then after the webinar, this will be recorded, so you can use it as a reference. We'll probably post this up on Subscription School, and then I'm definitely going to take a lot of these specific answers and make sure that we turn them into guides and address them for you guys. Someone asked, when looking to purchase products, I have a product budget of $15. Okay, that's reasonable, but would look to fill the box with about $30 worth of product. How can I negotiate with suppliers to get the best deal possible? One under the wholesale price I gave. Well, with a $15 budget, which is actually the exact same budget of my business and several of my subscription entrepreneur friends' businesses, that's a good price point. And we're able to turn $15 into a $70 to $75 retail value. And it's likely you can do that just by paying wholesale prices. When purchasing $15 for the most part, you can comfortably do 6 to 8 products. And usually we'll cap the amount we spend on a product. We'll never spend no more than $3 on a product. So usually we'll shoot to spend $1.50 to $3 on a product. If I spend $3 on a product, I'm definitely trying to make sure that I can turn that $3 into at least $10 to $15 of retail value. And it also really depends on the niche you're in. I mean, some categories have much better margins, like beauty products. You can spend $2 on a beauty product and a wholesale price, and get a $30 retail value. So food is tricky because oftentimes they don't have great margins. So you're spending $2 on a food item and then only getting about $6 of retail value out of it, right? So I do always like to include a food product or two in the box because of the instant gratification factor. When someone is opening their box, they do want a couple things in there that they can use and experience right away, and food is one of the best ways to accomplish that. So even though it's low margin, I like to do 1 or 2 food items. But yeah, it really depends on the category. But like I said, a $15 budget, generally, use that to purchase 6 to 8 products, and it should not be hard to turn that into $70, $75 worth of retail value. So someone asked, what is a good number of people interested in your box to consider the pre-launch successful? So I mentioned for each phase the kind of numbers that you want to shoot for. For phase 1, I wouldn't move into the pre-launch, the phase where you're collecting paid subscribers. I wouldn't move into the pre-launch until you have at least a couple thousand leads in there. If your teaser page is converting at a visitor to email rate of 20% or anywhere from 10 to 20%, that's awesome. I would spend, and you haven't gotten to the 2,000 emails yet, I would definitely extend phase 1 until you've gotten at least 2,000 to 5,000 emails, and really that's going to convert down to a pretty good number of paying subscribers for your pre-launch phase. And if you hit those numbers, that's going to be pretty decent volume to go to your vendors and negotiate some good pricing, hopefully below wholesale or even in some cases cost pricing if they can really see the value. Someone asked, are physical flyers and posters and local barber shops worth the time, money, and effort in the pre-launch stage, or should I be investing those resources into online marketing? Definitely invest those resources into online marketing. It's very hard to get somebody from a physical flyer to get back to their computer to perform the action you want. In the very first subscription business I started, we thought it would be a good idea to print 5,000 flyers and put them on cards. I think partly we thought it was fun to go around, walking around downtown and putting flyers and everything, but we even had a coupon code on there to try and track how that was working, but nothing. Total waste of $3,000. So you can experiment with it, if you like, but I would definitely be focusing your efforts on online marketing. So someone mentioned, can I include emails that I already have from my blog for the teaser page? So if you're going to use emails that you already have from other projects, I would use the teaser page to filter out people that are actually qualified. So you can send a message to lists that you already have, tell them about the concept, drive them to the teaser page, and see which ones actually put their emailing ad into the teaser page. So the idea with this existing list is to use your teaser page as a filter to find the qualified people in the existing lists that you have. So what I wouldn't do is take an existing list you have and try and wait till the pre-launch phase and try to push subscriptions on them. Don't take lists that haven't been qualified through something like a teaser page and try to get them to buy something. If you really want to extract value from existing lists, filter them through your teaser page during phase 1. Do I need to pay $40 a month to Cratejoy to start the teaser page? Yes, definitely. I mean, if you're in a free trial now, it will expire, but $40 a month is definitely something that you're going to want to start paying as soon as you get your teaser page going, because you're going to run that process for a month and a half, and you definitely need to make sure that your Cratejoy account is fully active. Okay, I'll do one more question here, and then we're going to wrap this up, and we'll definitely follow up with you guys with the recorded webinar and some follow-up resources. Let's see here. Let's see. Someone asked which app allows you to do the quarterly option. If you look in the App Store in your merchant dashboard, there is an advanced billing app that unlocks things like quarterly billing. Real quick, I'm going to address this. Somebody asked, what is your advice to get product market fit? So it makes it a lot easier if you're creating a product for a community or a niche that you are personally really passionate or knowledgeable about. I'm an active yogi who practices yoga. I understand that community. I'm a part of that community, which made it a lot easier for me to make a product for that community. So I think it's important that your passion and your authenticity will definitely show through your brand. Some good characteristics of good communities are ones where communities where you think that they're going to perceive your product as a need. It's very important that people perceive what you created as a recurring need every month. You also want to find a group of people who are active online, who are active on social media. Are there influencers in that niche? Are there people that people look up to? It's likely that you want to find a group of people who are spending a lot of money on this. Is it a lifestyle? Is it a culture? What is it? Are they spending money on it? Are they always going to spend money on it? Those are some characteristics you want to look for. And there's some things that you can always do before the teaser page if you want, just to come up with a concept and survey some people. Collect some data. The number one thing that I want you to avoid is quickly rushing to a launch and all you're hearing is crickets. Try and validate your concept up front. Make sure it resonates with the people you're building that product for. And a lot of that can be done on the teaser page. But I mean, guys, if you follow these steps and use this as a basic blueprint, you're going to have a successful launch. If you spend time creating a good product and you're creating quality, those are the really important things. You're going to have a decent business. And if you follow these steps to build anticipation before you launch, it's going to make everything easier, from marketing to procuring product to getting your first month of shipments out. So. Anyways, really appreciate you guys' time today. I hope this was helpful, and don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll follow up with some more resources. So good luck. Thanks, guys.